For me, a good pull-up bar is the one absolutely indispensable piece of workout equipment. And I have, in my backyard, what could be the world's best privately owned pull-up bar. In this video, I'm going to give you some tips on how to build not just an okay pull-up bar, not an adequate pull-up bar, but an awesome pull-up bar. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching Calisthenics Through the Ages. I'm Rob Peterson. Here's my bar. You could do freestyle calisthenics or giant swings on this bad boy, if it didn't have a bamboo hedge right behind it. The Mountain could do weighted pull-ups on this for 20 years, and the bar wouldn't be bent by 1 millimeter. I'm going to focus mainly on the pull-up bar and the uprights, but I'll also talk briefly about the other bars. The pull-up bar is galvanized solid steel. The uprights are 1/4-inch steel tube, and the concrete footings are over 3.5 feet deep. Unless somebody digs this thing up, it'll still be standing in 100 years. I'm going to talk about the construction of my setup, but since probably not everyone wants to spend the kind of time and money that I put into this, I'm also going to talk about some lower cost options. When I first decided to build a pull-up bar, I just decided that I wanted the bar to be really, really strong. So I called up a little metal shop and asked the guy if he could fabricate a solid pull-up bar for me. The guy said, "Yeah, how big do you want it?" I said, "Great. I'd like it to be about 4.5 feet long, about 1 1/4 inches thick, and I want it to be stainless steel." The guy said, "What are you, an idiot? What do you want it to be stainless steel for?" I was like, "Oh, well, stainless steel is stronger, right? And I don't want it to rust." He said, "Yeah, but stainless steel is slippery. It's no good for a pull-up bar. Look, let me make you a solid bar out of regular black steel. That's strong enough. You'll never bend that bar." But then I said, "It's going to be outside. Won't it rust?" He said, "Don't they teach you kids nothing?" I didn't bother to tell him that I was already in my 40s. "I'll galvanize it for you." Now, this is a family channel, so I'm not going to tell you what he said when I asked him what galvanizing was. Galvanizing the steel coats it in a layer of zinc, which protects it from rusting. I first installed the bar 12 years ago, and it hasn't changed visibly at all since then. Also, the crabby guy at the metal shop left the steel with a rough finish, and that plus the galvanizing resulted in a very rough surface. It's just great. It's honestly the best pull-up bar I've ever experienced. Every bar I've ever seen in a park is either clearly a pipe or it's a solid stainless steel bar. And the crabby metal shop guy was right. Stainless steel is stronger, but really, how strong do you need it to be? It's like, yeah, a solid stainless bar could hold 80,000 pounds, and my bar can only hold 55,000 pounds. I think I can live with that. And stainless steel is very slippery. You have to chalk those bars up like crazy to get a good grip. On the other hand, maybe I could do a slow muscle up with no false grip on a stainless bar. Anyway, the guy also fabricated little end plates, punched holes in them for screws, and welded them onto the bar. And just a side note here, it's easier and cheaper to buy custom things than most people think it is. I live in Los Angeles, and there are a couple dozen metal fabrication companies here. I'd say if you live anywhere near a city, you should be able to pretty easily find someone who can fabricate a bar like this. It was also surprisingly inexpensive. I got all 3 of these bars for about $300, all with end plates welded on and galvanized. The larger bars are standard 3-inch galvanized steel pipe. It's exactly the same stuff used to make playground equipment. He probably would have charged me about $120 for just the pull-up bar. That may seem unbelievably cheap, but consider, for the crabby metal shop guy, the pull-up bar probably took less than an hour of labor and probably cost him at most a couple of bucks in material. One thing about those small businesses is that if your job is small, they can often sort of lump you in with larger jobs. They often can use scraps from a large job and essentially get the materials for free. And if they're already set up to, say, punch holes in metal plates or to weld, it might just take 5 extra minutes to do your little job. So anyway, that's my first piece of advice. Have a custom, solid steel, galvanized bar built for you. It really shouldn't be very expensive. A really good lower cost alternative for the bar is to use threaded pipe. You can buy this at Home Depot and many other places. It comes in different lengths and thicknesses. The one I'm showing here is 1 inch in diameter and 4 feet long. The ends are threaded and you can thread them into flanges like these, which can be screwed into your uprights. That stuff is also galvanized and it's quite strong. That will be stronger than practically any pre-made pull-up bar that you would install inside your house or apartment. It's plenty strong enough for any weighted pull-ups or for muscle-ups, but I personally would not do any swinging on a hollow bar like this. and instead of lasting for 100 years, this might last for 20 years. Now moving on to the uprights. As far as the construction goes, the uprights are more important than the bar for a couple of reasons. One reason is that the uprights are the part that is more likely to break, especially if you have a solid steel bar. Another reason is that the uprights are permanent, or semi-permanent. If the bar breaks, or something is wrong with it, it's not that hard to replace. But if you screw up the uprights, or if, say, they rot away after 10 years, you will have to remove all the concrete in the footings and start over. After about 10 years, my original apparatus was so wobbly that it was getting scary, and I decided that I had to replace it. Step 1 was to remove the bars. I started by unscrewing the large bar shown here on the left. As soon as the bar was unscrewed from the leftmost post here, the post sagged. It was so rotted away at the point where it connected into the concrete that when I touched it with my finger, it just fell over. It was about as thick as a toothpick at the bottom. I wish I had taken pictures of it. It was before I started this channel and I just wasn't thinking about it. Anyway, I then spent 4 solid days, and my contractor spent another day, just breaking up and removing the concrete from my original footings. Trust me that you don't want to do that if you don't have to. It's much better to build it right the first time. So, I'm going to give you the advice that I wish someone had given me. There are a couple of good ways to build the uprights, and a couple of bad ways, which I'll explain. Now, this is not going to be a step-by-step tutorial of how to build one of these things. And if you're not an expert in this kind of thing, I would recommend hiring a contractor or handyman to help you. Anyway, I'm going to first describe my original apparatus, then I'll describe my new and improved one. My apparatus has 4 uprights and forms a 90-degree angle. The first time I built this, I decided to use 4x4 redwood posts. The posts were 12 feet long and the original height was about 9 feet, so the depth of the concrete footings was 3 feet. And of course, the wood posts sat at the bottom of the holes. I thought that the 90-degree angle would make the whole thing solid enough that I could swing on the pull-up bar, but in fact, it was wobbly as hell. I tried a kip way back in 2009 when I first built it, and it was scary. The whole thing moved way too much. I decided right then that it wasn't a good idea to swing even that much on it. Here's some video of me doing muscle-ups and pullovers. You can see how wobbly it was. It was okay for me because I was mostly interested in strength, but it was disappointing because I wanted to be able to swing on it. If I were going to build another one of these things out of wood, I would use thicker posts, at least 6x6. So, hopefully everybody knows that if you put untreated wood directly into the ground, it will quickly rot away. Your pull-up bar would only be stable for a couple of years. However, you may not be aware, as I was not, if you put wood into concrete at ground level, it will also rot away fairly quickly, especially if there's a thin layer of dirt over the concrete. Like I said, my original redwood uprights essentially rotted away in about 10 years. I should also mention that pressure-treated wood will last longer. I decided not to use pressure-treated wood because my understanding was that poisons like copper and arsenic would leach out of the wood. From what I've read recently, most modern pressure-treated wood is less toxic than it used to be. You can make your own decision about whether to use it. Anyway, most information on the internet says that you can expect it to last at least 20 years in dirt. It might last longer in concrete, but I have read that if it's in concrete with a thin layer of dirt on top, it will rot away quicker, possibly only lasting 10 years. But I have good news. There's a really good solution to this. If you're going to use wood posts, you can use a wood-to-concrete column base, like this one here. We use these on these wooden posts that hold up a pergola in our backyard. The wood sits on the metal base here, above the ground. The lower metal section goes into the concrete. This forms a connection with the concrete that's just as good as if the wood post went all the way to the bottom of the concrete. As long as the wood isn't touching the dirt, the wood may not rot away in your lifetime, as long as you coat it with wood sealer every so often. So you can use wood posts, but don't put the wood into dirt or concrete. Put metal into the concrete instead. I haven't tried it, but I'm pretty sure that 6x6 wood posts with metal column bases will be both strong and durable enough for just about anybody. And now that I think about it, this is a different situation than a normal load-bearing post. If you swing at all, you'll apply a lot of torque on the pull-up bar and you could crack the concrete. So if I were doing this, I would try to find a column base where the metal part projects much further down. And if I couldn't find one long enough, I'd get one like this and attach a long bolt to the bottom so that it goes down to the bottom of the hole. Okay, so let's talk about my setup. I'm pretty sure that this is the strongest and most durable way to build one of these. These are 4x4 1/4-inch thick steel tubes or posts. They look like this. They're the same size as 4x4 wood posts, which means that this is actually about 3.5 inches. Like the custom bars, this is the sort of thing that most people don't think of. You can't buy this kind of thing at Home Depot. It's only sold at metal supply shops. Again, any big city will have several of these. This type of steel tubing is sold in 20-foot lengths. I needed 4 posts that were each 14 feet long, so I had no choice but to buy 4 20-foot pieces. It cost about $600. They come as raw steel, so you have to galvanize them or apply some sort of finish. In my case, I had them powder-coated a color as close to redwood as possible so that they would fit the design criteria of my wife, who was in charge of aesthetics. Anyway, the cutting and powder coating cost another $200 or so. My understanding is that the powder coating also protects the steel from rusting, although it's probably not as good as galvanizing. It seems like there's a general consensus that you need about 1/4 of the total length of load-bearing posts to be in the ground. I decided on 14-foot posts with about 3.5 feet in the ground. So I dug holes that were a little bit over 3.5 feet deep and maybe 18 inches wide at the top. As I said before, this is not a step-by-step tutorial of how to construct one of these. This is not a do-it-yourself project. If you're going to build one of these out of metal, you will need expert assistance. You will need to hire a contractor or someone who's extremely good at general construction, and it will require at least 2 people. The metal is heavy. The posts weigh 10 pounds per foot, so the uprights weigh 140 pounds each. It was very difficult for the 2 of us, my contractor and I, to get the posts into the holes and then into the exact right position. We felt very fortunate that neither one of us was crushed or had a hernia. My contractor constructed bracing for the uprights out of 2x4s and clamps, and he's expert at getting things perfectly straight and level with exact 90-degree angles, even when things are so heavy that you can barely move them. I wanted to use my original bars, which were intended to be screwed into wood. The metal plates just have holes for screws. So, we drilled holes into the metal uprights using cobalt drill bits, then cut threads with a tap and die. The bars are screwed into the uprights with galvanized metal screws. Now, I'm deliberately not trying to describe exactly how we did all this, partly because I don't remember, and partly because I really feel like you need some sort of construction professional to oversee this operation, especially if you have metal uprights. Anyway, aside from the hole digging, it only took 2 days to do the whole job. My contractor and I worked one very long day and got the job mostly done. By the end of that first day, the uprights were set perfectly in place and the bars were mostly attached. Of course, you need the whole thing to be solid and set perfectly in place before you pour the concrete. My contractor poured the concrete the next day. And one more important thing about metal uprights. You need to put some sort of end cap on the top, otherwise water will get in and the steel will eventually rust. They make end caps for 4x4 wood posts, and since these have the exact same dimensions, you can easily find end caps that will fit. My end caps are made of copper. If you were just building a single pull-up bar, meaning only having 2 uprights and 1 bar, it would probably be possible for 2 highly motivated people to do the whole job in 1 day. So that's about it. I'll give a quick recap with diagrams to summarize everything. For the bar itself, the strongest option is a solid steel bar. You should be able to have a custom bar built at a local metal shop. If you build a custom bar, you can get whatever length or diameter that you want. If it's galvanized solid steel, it will never bend and it'll last longer than you will. The easier and less expensive option would be to use threaded pipe, which can be purchased at most hardware stores. That's still quite strong and will make for a very durable pull-up bar. For the uprights, metal is the strongest option. You can buy metal tubing or posts in various dimensions at a metal supply shop. The pull-up bar can be attached to the metal uprights by metal screws or bolts. You could even weld the bar to the uprights. The easier and less expensive option would be to use 6x6 wooden posts. If you go with wood, use wood to concrete column bases so that the wood doesn't go into the concrete or even touch the dirt. The wood should be strong and resistant to rot, something like redwood or pressure-treated wood. You can decide how high you want the bar to be. I wouldn't go lower than about 7.5 feet, but of course it depends on how tall you are. It's a good rule of thumb to make the concrete footings 1/4 the length of the entire upright, including the part underground, as shown in the diagrams. Or, to put it another way, the depth of the footings should be about 1/3 the length of the above-ground portion of the uprights. I strongly recommend concrete for the footings. I don't think that just dirt would provide enough stability for a pull-up bar. I realize that not everyone has a backyard in which to construct one of these things. I also have a full workout setup in my house, despite having a very small house, and a wife who will not allow any piece of workout equipment to be visible when it's not in use. So, in an upcoming video, I'm going to talk about ideas for a workout setup inside your house or apartment when you only have a very small space to work with. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. As always, hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more content like this. Good luck with your training, and I'll see you in the next video.